Thanks for joining today. Today we will talk about a very specific topic here at Transkribus about the document editor. We would like to give you a good overview about the editor in Transkribus and give you all the tips and hints about working with the editor and how you can make the best of working with the document editor in Transkribus. Short overview. I will first give you a brief introduction, and then we will already dive into the software and have a look at Transkribus specifically about the editor, how Helene will show you how you can use the editor in Transkribus and all of the settings and tweaks that you can do to the editor. And finally, we will also have a Q&A. Today we are very good group to discuss these things. So if you have any questions, you can add them to the chat. We can discuss them. And today we also have the opportunity to dive a little deeper if you have specific questions. You might already know us. Some of you are familiar names to us, as we have a couple of webinars that we have had over the last couple of months. Now in 2024, together with me today, here is Helene from the comms team, and I'm Flo from the product team and the board of directors. And I can give you an overview about product insights and features. Let's first have a very quick look. This is very similar to you, I guess, and documents in Transkribus, you know them. We all have similar problems. We need to get data out. We need to work with that data in order to do what we are planning to do with it, to analyze it, to read it in first place, or do some more advanced applications. To do that, there's like the from image to machine readable text workflow in Transkribus. So how you get from an image to machine readable text with Transkribus is very easy and straightforward with automated text recognition, but still you need some tools to work with the data then. And here is where the editor comes in. We've tried to show in which places the editor actually plays a role. Could actually work with Transkribus without even using any automated tools. You can manually do everything with Transkribus. Transkribus is completely free if you want to manually work with your documents. You can upload them, then edit them, and then share and export them as you like. So it's a basically free document editor for historic documents. But there's also the standard workflow for automated working with the documents where you do some text recognition or some layout recognition, and then can still use the editor to view your documents, but also edit your documents, and finally share and export your documents. Even if you have some more advanced needs and want to work with Transkribus in a more advanced way by training your own and custom AI model, which we already had a webinar about 3 weeks ago. So if you have not joined that, you can have a look at our video on YouTube if you're interested in training a model. But if you're training a model, you also need the document editor. And here the document editor is very valuable as preparing training data. That's one of the most important things you need to do for your own AI models, is something you can basically only do with the document editor, because you need to manually transcribe or at least correct automated output in order to have that ground truth in technical terms, so the training data that can be used to train a model. And then after you have your model trained, you will likely do a recognition of your broader data set, and then still want to search and edit data. And then eventually you can still export it. So to sum it up, you always need something to view and edit and enrich your data. And that's where the editor in Transkribus is our tool that we try to develop and further extend for you to have a very powerful editor in order to view, edit, and enrich your documents. And now it's already your turn, Helene. Helene will give you now an overview of the editor directly inside of Transkribus, because diving into the software is what makes the most fun.
Thank you, Flo.
Over to you, Helene.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. And And there we go. So as Flo said, the editor is used in many ways, and we will first have a look at how you can use the editor for manual transcription, and then we will take a look at using the editor when it comes to editing. So when you use the editor and Transkribus for manual transcription, what you have done is probably uploaded your images, your pages, your documents to Transkribus, and now you want to work with them. And to do that, we first need to run the layout recognition. To do that, we can open the page, as you see here, and then click on recognition. And now we just want the layout recognition. So we go to layout, and let's just stick with universal lines and click on start recognition. So what that does is take a look at your image and see where the text is, where the lines is, and to see basically where the information is on your image. And once it has that, you can then manually transcribe your image. Let's see how long it takes. There we go. So as you can see, we have here the text region. The text region is this block encasing the text, and the lines, these are the baselines, and they're the reference point to know where the text is. So with this, you can simply put in the information. So you can see if I click on one, this is the line that this is referencing to. So we put in 50 and continue, shall refuse or neglect. And this way you can just manually transcribe your documents, enter all the information, all the transcription, the text in the editor. And then when you've finished your transcription, you can just click on save, and that's how you use the editor for manual transcription. Now, what you want to do if you want to edit is you use a text recognition model first. And to do that, you simply go again on recognition. Oh, let's save that first, of course. And then you, instead of going to layout, you stay in the text recognition field. So let's use our super model for now, because that is a quite good model. And the recognition is running. Let's see how long that takes. We can check in the job section, for example. The job is running, but maybe I can show you an example of how it looks when you have the transcription done. So let's see this example here. So this is a really great example of what it looks like when you usually work with Transkribus. So you have run the automatic layout recognition, and now you want to edit, correct the automatic transcription. What you can see here, maybe just as to revisit that, is on the left side, the layout editing part, and on the right side, the text editing part. So on the left side, you have your image and the layout. As mentioned before, you have the region and the baselines, and on the right side, the transcription. What you can do with the layout part of the editor is select different parts of your layout, like region or baselines, but you can also add lines, add regions, or tables if you're working with tables, and again, run the text recognition. What is also really nice and what is quite new is that you can view the pages that you are working with. So if you want to jump between pages and have a look at other ones, you can simply click on the next one or the previous one by clicking on pages here on the bottom left side. Oop. Let's close that for now. Now, when it comes to editing, there are a lot of things you can do in the editor. Let's see what you can do with regions. So here with the region, we can see that it's cutting off a bit of the word. Let's say we want to make the region bigger. To do that, you press Shift on your keyboard, and now you can see these kind of buttons appear, and you can just drag those buttons to where you want them. And this way you can change the shape and size of the region. What you can also do is, for example, split regions. So let's say I want to have two different regions because these are two different parts of text that I want to have separated. To do that, you select the region by clicking on it, and then you press C on your keyboard and click here. And now you can also see that on the right side that it's now split into two regions. So we have region 1, which is this one, and region 2, which is the lower one.
We already have a question. Since we're talking about splitting, there's already one question we can have a look at, which is custom splitting, which basically works exactly the same. It's a rather new tool. Yeah, you can just right click and then basically draw the freeform split at the very bottom. And then you can draw a line. You just need to click a couple of times to kind of draw the polygon. Now you're making one line and maybe do another one. Another click. Yeah. I think you clicked. You can just,
I misclicked, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you can draw a polygon basically over the region. You need to draw outside of the region. So it needs to extend a little bit further outside of the region. It would already be fine. I mean, that's a split that you would not do. But now if you hit enter, it will split the region according to that polyline that you have drawn. But I think it has not worked as you have extended it not outside of the region. So if let's say you want to just split the bottom right corner, and there's some text that you don't want, and then you click on it, right click, and select the freeform split. So rather new tool, so that's why you probably don't know it, Helena. Right click and then select the freeform split.
Right click, freeform split.
And then you click below,
and then I click outside.
In the center, outside of the region, and basically just that would be sufficient. You can exactly like this. You really can split the regions into custom polygons as you like them, depending on your use case. Very often there is some text in the corner where they really narrowly have written to the paragraph, but it's actually a marginalia, for instance, and you might want to split your regions accordingly. Yeah, it's a very new tool. It's interesting that you've already come across it because we've introduced it 2 or 3 weeks ago. But yeah, we think it's really handy if you want to work with more complex shapes.
All right, nice.
That's all.
Thank you. Yes, where were we? So the custom split, yes. So what you can also do, I also realized that we have double transcriptions now.
It's somehow duplicated the lines.
Yeah, interesting.
I think you can just reload the entire page without saving, and I think you should be clear.
Let's do that. There we go. Okay. Yes, so we had how to split regions, how to custom split regions. And you can also do the same thing with lines. So for example, you can see here on the left side that we have marginalia, but that the automatic text recognition read this or recognized this as one continuous line. So if you want to split that, again, click on it and select it. And then you can also select or use your keyboard. And in this case, you press V for a vertical cut and you click on the line where you want to split it. And now if you select it, you can see that it is 2 different baselines. In this case, you would also have to edit the transcription. As you can see, it's just doubled now. I think this is also what happened with the custom split, that it basically just doubled the transcription when we split it in half. But this is how you can split baselines. You can also merge baselines. So sometimes it happens, I think we have an example down here, that you have one line that should be continuous but has been recognized at 2 different ones. And to merge them, you select one line, then press Control on your keyboard, select the second line, and then press M on your keyboard to merge. And as you can see here, it merged and is now also showing as one continuous transcription in the text editor part. For this marginalia, for example, we also want to have it encased in its own region. So to do that, we can select Add Region, click once on the page to start the region, and then double click, or sorry, click again, and we have here one new region. Since there are also baselines missing, you can add those by clicking Add Line. Click once, and you can add some baselines here, and now you double click to end the line. You can see here that in this case, let's see, the line is empty because we didn't run the text recognition over it. It didn't recognize it before, so we prepared this in advance. But to have a text recognition, either you manually enter the transcription, or what you can also do is run another text recognition model over it.
Yeah, maybe just to explain, we have prepared this page specifically with all these mistakes and errors to show them. So actually, could be the case that if you run text recognition, that's basically recognizes one big region over the entire page and all the lines are recognized. But splitting that marginalia and the paragraph or the body text, that's actually something where you might really need to manually do some modifications or train a specific model to handle these cases. But in general, it would do better than this.
Yeah, this is an example. Exactly, this is an example to show what you can do and what you can edit just in case there are some mistakes. So this is basically a very drastic mistakes just to show that what you can do and how you can improve layout in Transkribus. Maybe one thing that is also good to know is where to find all those keyboard shortcuts. So I've showed you a few ones, how to split, how to merge, but there are even more, and you can find them by clicking on the three dots on the top right, and then go to keyboard shortcuts. And here you have many more keyboard shortcuts. So even to redo an action or to copy an element, you find one. To create a text line or to create a region, there are also keyboard shortcuts. And here you have, for example, again, merge two elements or move elements. So you can have a look through this and kind of remember those that are important to you or that you think can help you with using the editor. So I think this is also an important thing and a very useful thing to know where you can find that. I think that was also a question in the chat. Do we have any other questions in the chat so far?
No, I think that was the question.
Okay. Okay, I think we've covered the most important parts of layout editing. So let's move on to text editing. Let's just save the changes. Always remember to save changes. And I'll just show you how you can edit text in a different document that we prepared where we have a bit more options. Let's use this one. So as mentioned before, on the right side, we have the text editor, and we also have some options here to, for example, increase the font size or decrease the font size. What we also have here is the virtual keyboard. So you can also add different languages or different scripts here if you want. And we have the option to enable and disable tags. Yes, the tags I didn't mention in the layout yet. Maybe I will do that before we move on to text. And we have the layout tree for the text recognition. So before we move on to this, let me just quickly, or maybe I can show it here even, I think. So one thing to know with Transkribus is that you can add tags, structure tags, and textual tags. So to use structure tags, or maybe to explain what structure tags are, they help define the structure of a document. For example, they can identify or help identify titles or headings or paragraphs, and they kind of help maintain the original layout of the document so that meaning is preserved and also context is preserved. So what it does basically is just label specific elements in your layout. And you can choose what labels you want to use. So to choose labels or to choose these tags, you right-click on your region, And then you can see assign structure type. So these are the structure tags. You can see here we have paragraph, heading, page number, marginalia. For this, let's use paragraph because this is a paragraph. And here in the top right corner, we can see paragraph. Maybe we can make that, I can show you how you can make that bigger in when we go on to the settings. But what you can also do is, of course, add new tags. So if you work with structural elements that are not shown here, you can always add new tags that fit your document type or the material that you work with. And I will show you shortly how you can do that. And of course, you can also add tags to the text, so textual tags, and they are here to identify or label specific textual elements, and they can help provide context. So, for example, with the layout, we had paragraph or heading, and what we have with text is, for example, if I mark this, date or person or place. So this helps again to mark or label specific elements, but not in a layout, but in your text. So in the text editor, again, you can, as I showed when I showed the manual editing, you can correct transcriptions. So let's see here, we have a mistake here. So simply click into the text and then use your keyboard to correct the mistakes. And this way you can correct the automatic transcriptions. So with the public models that you use, because they're not trained with the specific material that you're working with, it can always happen that some mistake sneaks in, and that's why we have the editor. This way you can correct those small mistakes that are happening. So not only can you use textual tags in the text, for example, here we have date or a person, we have geocraki as person, but you can also edit some other parts, some other textual elements. For example, if something is written in superscript. So we have something written in superscript here, or something that is written a bit different. So this is, first of all, superscript and an abbreviation. So let's correct first the missing letter, and then we can tag it as, we'll tag this as superscript, and then we can tag the W and M as abbreviation, and this abbreviation stands for William. And now we have two tags for this part of the text. We also can show if something is crossed out. For example, here there was a correction made, and I think it was corrected from advertised. So there was a spelling mistake, and we can strike that through and then add the correction. But remove for those two the strike through, and also use superscript. So now it's a bit closer to what is actually written here. One other thing that I shortly mentioned before is the layout tree, and the layout tree is here to correct the order of lines. So this is a switch up that I also added here just to show how you can correct if, for example, lines are switched around. And you can simply click on the layout tree and then drag and drop the line to where it's supposed to be. And now we have it in the correct order again. I think that is it for the correcting part and tagging part. Let's show what you can do in the settings. So to go to the settings, go in the bottom right corner and click on settings. And here you have the option to kind of customize your Transkribus editor experience. So for example, you can choose a different font or also where you want to align the text. So for example, instead of having it aligned on the left side, we want it centered. And immediately you can see that instead of on the left, the text is now centered. You can also choose to not show the line and region numeration in the text. So if I click on it, it disappears. You also have some setting options or configuration options for the image. Maybe let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. You can choose here, for example, to show the region or not show the region. If you have an easier time of transcribing with hiding the region and maybe even hiding the baselines, you can do so, but you can also select to show it, or for example, show or not show the structure labels or the structure colors. What I showed you before with the structure the structure tags is that you can also, as you can see, it's quite small. You can, of course, increase the label size. So I can just drag the size up, and now we can see better that this is now a paragraph and has been tagged as a paragraph. You can also change the line width of the baseline. As you can see, if I drag it up, the blue is getting a bit thicker. Something that's also quite useful is that you can change the colors here. So if, let's say, you think that the blue is not really a nice color, or for example, let's say with the line, what is that called again, Flo? This part, the orange one, the baseline highlights?
The highlight,
Is it the baseline highlight? Yeah.
Baseline highlight color.
It's written here even. Yeah, the baseline
There's
highlight.
a lot of colors and a lot of settings.
Yeah.
So maybe we have gone too far. It's Christmas time, so if you feel like making it fancy, now is the time.
Now is the time. But for example, here we can see that the color of the page is already quite orange. So if you want to have a bit more contrast between the baseline highlight color and the page, you can also change those settings. Maybe let's change it also to a light blue. And now you can see better the baseline highlight. So these are a few options where you can kind of customize your editing experience, and you can see what works for you. If you don't need some settings, or for example, you don't need the baseline highlight, you can also choose to not show that, and just see what works better for you and how you work better with the editor. One thing that is also really important to know, which I mentioned shortly before as well, is the tags. And in the settings, when you go to the tags area, you can select the tags that you want shown when you're working with tags, and you can also add tags. So first, we select what tags we want to have shown. So if I'm working with the structural tags, and I have a lot of pages that have headers and footers, I select them to be shown and be visible. So if I now again select my region and right-click on it, you can see that now header and footer also appear as options for the structural tags. And you can do the same for textual tags. So before we had already a few, but let's say I also want to add organization or unclear. Now, if we select something, mark it, we can see immediately that organization and unclear has been also added as visible tag options. If you have an element, either a textual or structural element, that you want to tag, but that's not in this list that you can see here, you can edit tags and add tags in this section. So you can see we're here. You can also just access that from the homepage from the Transkribus Web App and go to tags. But here you have an overview of all your tags. We're now in the textual tag section. And this is also where you can create and add new tags. So let's create a new one. Let's call it, what do we want to add? We want to add city, for example, as a tag. And we can also choose a color. Let's stick with blue, click on create. And now if we go to the second page, we can see that we have a new tag added. And then if we go back to our page, I think we probably have to reload that. Let's maybe save and quickly reload the page. We should now also be able to see the newly added tag in our textual tags here. Yes, it immediately appears, and we can also click on it so that it becomes visible when we're working with it. Another thing that is maybe useful when working with the editor, if you're working on a page and you want to go back to a certain step, or you're not happy with the transcription and you just want to check a previous version, you can go on this watch in the top right corner, click on it, and now you can see the version history. So for example, let's go back to 13 November. Okay, I don't know what we used here. I think there was an example model. But yeah, so this is from where we just started the layout recognition. And here you can see, for example, the different steps of where we edited it and tried to make some mistakes in it to prepare it for today's webinar. But basically here you can go back to previous versions and either start anew or go back to a previous version where you think that was a better version. What you can also do is change the status of your pages. So if you've worked with Transkribus before, you know that we have different status that you can save your pages in. So if you're happy with your transcription and you think, okay, I'm done, maybe someone else should look over it, but I'm personally done with the transcription, you can click on done and save it with the status done. If you've double checked it and you think, okay, this is not my final or ground truth version, and maybe you want to train a model with it, then this is really nice to see what pages you checked and have the correct transcription. Then you can also change the status here and save it, for example, as the final version. And again, always remember to save your changes so nothing gets lost.
We all know the hassle of being done with a page. I'm done with it.
Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're through with the most
coming back
important
to
things.
custom split, that's correct. We have the freeform split and the custom split. To explain it, the custom split, you're correct. They're very close. The custom split, if you hold down C, you cannot just only horizontally or vertically split, but by tilting in, you just need to press the arrow keys for that. You can really fine-grainedly, and I think maybe that's not documented, by hitting the arrow key, the custom split turns 1 degree. So you have 360 degrees. You basically have 360 steps you can tweak. By additionally holding down control, you split every degree into 10 further steps. So you can really fine-grainedly, change the angle of your split. Regarding Optimum documents, I mean, it's not related to the editor. We are making progress. There's also some very interesting projects going on with Ottoman documents. There will be some larger trainings that start in the coming year. So I'm really looking forward to them. But how far they are exactly, I'm not directly involved into those projects, but I'm aware of those. And they are really making good progress as far as I know. And there might be some new models coming up so that we also have some ready available models for Ottoman script. There's also a question if it's possible to edit the side panels. The question might be to what degree. So what you might want to change in your panels. What you can do in terms of working with the editor when you are transcribing is changing from a left and right split view to a top and bottom split view, which is really handy because then you have a very, at least for your eyes, it's much more relaxing when you can really go from row by row or basically line by line and transcribe it rather than jumping from the left to the right. So it really depends on your use case. If you're working more with layout, it's better to split it, left and right rather than top and bottom. But if you're transcribing a lot, then this view might be, the better one.
All right, I
the-
think otherwise we'll don't have any more questions for now. So I'll just hand over back to you and we'll do the wrap up.
Yeah, just a second. Let me just share my screen. Let's do a very quick wrap up. So in the meantime, you can already prepare your questions if you have some. But just as a very quick wrap up, as many of you have already joined previous webinars, you might know those slides. We here at Transkribus try to provide an AI-powered ally. Today we focused on the less AI-powered part of it, so the editor, but that's not less important because you really need some, let's say, interface to engage and interact with the material and the output of the AI, and that's where the editor is our answer to it. We, as a cooperative, are basically backed by a lot of institutions all over the world. More than 200 members are basically our co-owners from more than 30 countries. I think currently we're at 35 countries. And yeah, we all together try to further develop Transkribus as a cooperative. We always also take a family photo at their user conference that we have every year. The next one will be in a little bit less than a year, very likely. So in the fall of 2025. And we will have a user conference where we always try to come together who wants to join. Yeah, and discuss all the nice projects and all and the nice outcomes of working with Transkribus. To finance all of this, we also need to have some form of business model, even though basically all of our profits are directly reinvested into the platform as we are a cooperative. And we have different subscription plans that you can subscribe to. With our free plan, we can, as you have seen today, basically use everything in the editor for free. Also run 50 pages a month for free through automated recognition. So we really try to give everybody the option to use Transkribus to a very large extent. Obviously, if you work with larger holdings and with larger purposes, then you might need to subscribe for a team plan or an organization plan. We really try to also have a fair use of the platform, so to speak. Because our mission is to provide the best tools with the editor. I need to be honest, the editor is a very comprehensive and extensive tool, so there might be always some little bugs that you might encounter. If you're working a lot with this material, then I'm almost certain that you have already encountered some issue in the editor, but really we are trying to do our best to kind of iron them out as quickly as possible, and then also give you even better tools over time. Because our part is the technical one, yours is the fun one, working with the material, exploring all those stories that are basically to be uncovered in the historical material. That's what working with Transkribus is all about, because actually you want to basically get to the bottom of what's happening, what was happening back in the times based on the historical documents that you're working on. We also have a very extensive scholarship program for aspiring researchers and also teachers to support the academia, because we come from academia and have not forgotten our roots. We really want to foster innovation and foster research by also looking at the past, because we can learn a lot from what has happened in history. We all are in very exciting times today, and looking at the history is a very important aspect of humankind that I think we all together are working on. And if you have very specific questions and tool-based questions, if you don't find a feature or have a problem that you might be able to resolve on your own with the help center, please do so, because we really try to document as good as possible all the tools and functionalities of the entire platform, but also of the editors and most of the things. I hope all of the things, maybe the freeform split that we have shown, which is a rather new tool, might not be there yet. In terms of speed, we are sometimes a little bit behind the development team when it comes to documenting all of the new tools and functionalities that we're building into the platform. We really try to keep that up to date, so you always can access the almost most up to date information regarding all the functionality, and also try to solve the problems the quickest. Of course, this helps us because we have to provide less support, but on the other hand, you also get answers quicker to your problems. If not, we're always happy to have you. We always try to have these webinars. The next one is already scheduled next week about a very specific tool about text to image matching. If you already have existing transcriptions, this might be a handy tool to import existing transcriptions into Transkribus. And then we have another one in January where we talk about public AI models. Might be well the case that we can already announce something about autumn on them. So it's a little bit more than a month. I will try to think of that and also address that because we try to broaden our offering more and more and really have models for a lot of different scripts and a lot of different languages, a lot of under-resourced languages, because Transkribus really goes strong when it comes to customizing models to very specific needs and use cases in the historical sphere, where out of the box models from a larger scale just don't perform well because it's just material and scripts that have not been available for a very long time. And with that, or with Transkribus, you can train models for that, and we really try to make them available. And here, the community is a really important factor. We have very nice and interesting models already available, for instance, for Balinese and Tibetan and very interesting languages where the research is just at the beginning. For instance, with the Balinese project together with the Wikimedia Foundation, it was really about documents that were basically or basically historical recordings that were written on palm leaves, so very unconventional, at least for the Western Hemisphere material. But it was basically one of the um, types of writing down records that was available back then, and it's very interesting to work with this very different kind of material. Now we still have a couple of minutes for questions if there are some. So just feel free to type them into the chat if you have any. Otherwise, it would be one of the first webinars that we ended in time. So today we try to condense it to the most important things. With the editor, there's still maybe some more aspects that you might find out yourself because there's really a lot of functionality. Even I stumble from time to time over new little helpful tools that there might be in the editor. That being said, if there are no questions, happy to have you all here still. It was great to having you, and we hope that you keep unlocking the past with Transkribus, and we hope that we do that together. So thanks a lot for joining, and see you soon when we have the next webinars.